So it's probably been on a lot of people's minds as we deal with winter around the corner, and we've had a lot of load shedding, another week of load shedding coming our way. What do we do as alternatives? Like, how do we cook? How do we keep the lights on? How do we just keep life going on as we struggle with the cold and as we struggle with the lack of power? And one of those options is gas. And I know it's one of those things that a lot of people are looking at. I mean, it's really swanky to have a nice gas stove in your kitchen. I mean, I love cooking on gas. It just gives the food a different kind of flavor, but it is a really, really great solution when you're looking at something different when you need to cook, when you need to keep things going. And I'm thrilled to have Vishal Pooran. He's the managing director of Egoli Gas on the line. Vishal, business must be good right now.
Yes, absolutely, and it's really booming. Even in the times of COVID, you would have thought things would be slowing down and we'd be struggling to get up to speed. But gas is really, really flowing and doing well.
I love the pun on the flowing of gas. I see you guys have got a really strong presence in the Sandton area. And for someone who's had absolutely no insight into gas, who doesn't really understand all the intricacies of how gas works, tell me a little bit more about that. Where does it go? How does it flow to where it needs to go? Where can I find it in Sandton?
Yeah, so interesting story about gas. So it started way back in 1892 already, when the city was powering the streetlights in Johannesburg, and they had President Street Gas Works that used to use coal, basically gasified coal, and produce a type of methane out of that. And those were basically the streetlights that were being powered by gas from that time already. So our premises has had gas since 1928, when the retort house was built here at Cottesloe. And then around about 1964, we started to switch over to hydrogen-rich gas, or Towns gas, which was supplied by Sasol from their factory in Sasolburg, which is a byproduct of the coal gasification process. Fast forward a bit then to 2004, there was a big find of natural gas in Mozambique, which Sasol basically explored and started to extract from the ground. And that's the gas we sit with today. So that's been flowing through the pipes from Mozambique, about 520 kilometers from from Maputo, basically up in Temane. That crosses the border very close to Komati Port. There's a compressor station there that compresses the gas, brings it through to Secunda. And from Secunda, the gas is conditioned. There's a smelling agent that's put in it that makes it smell like rotten eggs. And then it's pushed through to the network, and through the city of Johannesburg, we have a reticulation network of about 1,300 kilometers of pipe that lies under the city's pavements, basically. So that's how it gets to various parts of Johannesburg.
So if I want to access this, if I've got a house in Sandton or in Greater Sandton, what happens there? I mean, do you sort of tap into those pipes underground and then just sort of run a pipe into my kitchen, or how else does it work?
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Obviously, we take safety at the heart of everything we do. So tapping into the gas line is quite an involved process. It needs to be what we call stoppled, and stoppling means you do a hot tap. A hot tap is a hot drill into the line in a safe manner so that it doesn't release any gas into the atmosphere. So we stop the gas, we do a service connection to your property, basically to the boundary. We put a meter up, and then you need to get a qualified gas installer independent of us to then pipe that gas from the boundary through to your appliances inside the house.
Okay, well, that sounds not too complicated. I mean, I think, if you've got all the right people in place, that should be something that could be done quite easily. One of the things that does come up quite often with people when you talk about gas is that people are always scared of gas. Like, it's one of those things that people are still trying to get their head around. They're still worried about, should I have a gas stove? I don't want to sort of, leave it on by mistake and blow up the kitchen. What kind of safety measures and how safe is gas?
So, I mean, like with any other energy source, you've got to treat it with respect. You know, if you stick your finger into an electricity socket, obviously you're going to hurt yourself. So it's a similar thing with gas. So as long as you respect the energy source you're using, it's safe as houses, as they say. So the appliances, the modern appliances you get nowadays have got various safety devices on them. So if it's not lit, basically, if you don't ignite the gas, there is a shut off. So basically, there is a cut off on most modern appliances that shuts off the gas if it senses that there's a concentration of gas over a certain limit. So really, really safe as far as that's concerned in a house. As far as our installation goes from the street to the meter, there are shut-off valves on the street as well as a shut-off valve just after the meter. So if there is any problem downstream of that, we're able to then close that valve and fix the issue.
Well, as I mentioned in the intro, there's obviously a big uptake now probably as well with load shedding. And I see you've got a variety of different products that you brought out. I think on your website, I think I even spotted a generator that runs on gas, if I saw that correctly. Yes. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So those are small scale backup generators, very similar to a diesel generator that you'd have at your house or at a place of work. So it just replaces the fuel that you would have been using, diesel or LPG or something like that. And it's piped gas into a generator and basically produces electricity from there.
And is it as noisy as a diesel generator? Because I know that's one of the other things is that people complain about these things kind of gunning away. Or is it a little bit quieter?
It's a lot quieter.
Really?
So it doesn't have the same kind of compression engine that a diesel generator has. So it's much quieter than a diesel generator, for sure.
So what else can you run on gas at home? I mean, I suppose the stove and the oven is one of those obvious things, I suppose, that have always been number one. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so you can run water heaters, so geyser, very efficient. So that's water, basically instant water, hot water on tap. And it doesn't need any storage. So it's not like a traditional geyser where you have a storage and a thermostat and a heating element in it that has to work then constantly to keep the water warm. There's in a gas water heater, there's basically a series of tubes in it that heats up on demand. So basically, as you need it, the gas flame then shoots up and it heats the water, and you have instant hot water. So no waiting for the pipes, the water in the pipes to basically release itself before you get the hot water. So it's really efficient. Yeah, and there's a variety of appliances. I mean, you can even get things like stoves and fridges and those kind of things. Not available in this country. Fridges, unfortunately, you have to import those from overseas. But stoves, definitely, gas generators, hobs, space heating, so fireplaces. There's a lot of things you can. So basically, anything that can heat up basically can run on gas.
Well, I mean, it's good to know. And I think for the well-heeled, I mean, even importing a gas fridge would probably not even be too far flung. So I know a lot of people are trying to get off the grid. They're trying to be sort of more independent. And I know electricity prices are also sort of set to rise as we go through the year. So it'd be quite interesting to hear how gas measures up with electricity from a price point of view. Is it significantly cheaper?
Yes, it is. So for anything that heats up, it is significantly cheaper because it's a lot more efficient in heating up water, for instance, or heating up your stove for cooking. I wouldn't recommend it for things like lights and fridges and stuff just yet. That might be a little bit too much too soon, if I can put it that way. But definitely for stoves, for space heating, for water heating, definitely a lot more efficient and a lot more cost effective than electricity is.
Well, I mean, you were mentioning this technology has been around since 1800 and something, and it's, I suppose, a bit difficult to reinvent the wheel. But have you got any new developments or any new technology that's coming to the market in 2021 from Egoli Gas?
So on our operations side, we are looking at a lot of new technologies, but on the appliance side, there's a lot of other suppliers that are bringing in equipment. So we're looking at a lot of different technologies, trying to make the appliances more efficient. Yeah, but you have to speak to those gas installers to get that kind of information from them. So there's various on our website. You can link to various approved and recommended suppliers from our side, and they can give you a lot better advice than I can on what appliances are going to be coming into the market.
Well, definitely some good advice and a little bit more insight into how gas works. And now that you know that gas is available in Greater Sandton, I think that also makes it a hell of a lot easier. I think gone are the days of having to schlep big, I don't know, what do you call them, barrels or canisters of gas around, and then when it's finished you have to now get into your slippers and try and find another one. So you can tap into it directly, and we'll put all the details into the show notes as well if you're interested in getting some more information from Egoli Gas and what other options there are if you want to gasify your house ahead of winter or as 2021 rolls on. Vishal Pooran, he's the managing director of Egoli Gas. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it, and really fun speaking to you guys.